the right human beings, right? Be a good human, and you take them on. It's not the this guy has 20 years experience and this guy or girl has none. Great, take them on with none. Train them from square one and build them up into what you want them to be.
Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast, our regular discussion with building industry professionals. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. Today I'm joined by Brooke Cambridge, a painting contractor from Salem, Massachusetts. You can find the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast and the original Fine Homebuilding podcast at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. You can leave feedback and ask questions there too. Brooke, thank you so much for being on the show. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Boston was one of the early places that the outbreak took hold. Has it affected your work? How are things? Are you healthy? Are your coworkers healthy?
Yeah, it was a bit slow in the beginning, not too bad, thankfully. But it's been super busy, super busy, which we're very grateful for, as many are not. So it seems like everybody's doing a lot of home projects at this time.
That's what I was going to ask you. So these are folks who are suddenly in their homes a lot more and want work done because they look at it all the time, or they're making changes?
Yeah. Yes. Or they start, doing their own project and realize, well, I guess this isn't my forte. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you willing to take on those kind of jobs? That seemed like it might be fraught with peril.
Yeah, right. Sure. Why not? Why not? Yeah.
How did you become a painter?
How much time do you have?
Oh, hey, we're here as long as you want, sister.
So I'll give you the short version. I was, I was my 19, 20, I was a kiddo. And some unfortunate circumstances led me to not have the ability to graduate from high school. So beyond that, I was looking for work, and I had some friends that were painting. And my lifelong goal and dream was to get into architectural engineering. It didn't happen, and that's okay.
Yeah.
The road took me here. So I joined a handful of friends and started painting with them. And I've always been very hands-on, and I enjoyed it. I liked kind of being in the field with, many other trades and learning about those trades as well. Grew up in Maine. I was in Maine for maybe 5 years while I was starting, the painting career, and moved down to Mass. And I worked for a couple of companies down in Mass. And I woke up one day and said, I can do this. Why am I working for everyone else? I can do this. So I took everything I learned, and I learned a great deal from the few that I worked for up in Maine and in Mass. And I just took those skills, and I'm a people person, so I like to be out there chatting with everyone. So I just went for it, and it was slow going in the beginning, but we're 15 years in, and we're still successful and grateful for that. So long road.
Were you good at the business side of it right away, or did that take some learning?
Yeah, I definitely think there was a learning curve in there. But I was all in. I was very driven to succeed, and I would hop on the computer and I'd research every outlet there was to meet people, to gain a certification or a license, or, everything I needed to kind of get my ducks in a row to be, better than the guy next door or the girl next door, and what would set me apart. So I really focused in the beginning and was super busy just getting all those things together, talking to anyone and everyone, walking in the coffee shop and saying to, a couple of guys sitting at a table, hey guys, how you doing? Check out my new painting company. So those things led to many connections and projects.
That's really cool. Did you find that you were a good painter right away, or did that take a few years to learn how to do the hand skills to be a good painter?
Well, I'd say it, when I first started out working for others, that's when I kind of gained my skills. So by the time I started my company, I really had a foundation of what that looked like and how, how to do things correctly. And I just kind of went with that, and it definitely paid off, and it showed in the work. So that was a good thing.
Did you, do you still get to paint, or do you run your business now, or is it a combination of both?
It's 99.9% running the business.
Yeah.
So I'm mostly, checking on job sites and meeting with clients and doing office work and things of that nature. There are very few occasions where I'll head into the field and, I do miss swinging a brush, or, I'll teach a newbie how to get the spray set up and how to do a spray job and things like that. So, injuries have kind of prevented me from that as well. I stopped painting maybe 8 to 10 years ago with a neck injury.
Did you fall?
I didn't fall. There was no specific diagnosis, but I think it was just, I'd walk around with 2 5-gallon buckets and up and down stairs and, things like that. Just the body does not like. So I have a few slip discs here and there that kind of took me out of the field. But what it did do on the other end is, it had me focus on the business and, as they say, work on your business, not in it. So it kind of took me out of that role of painting and had me kind of discover more ways to grow.
You said you do miss it sometimes. Is that like on, I bet you don't miss it in January.
Well, we have been grateful enough to stay busy throughout the season and, focus on interiors in the wintertime. And I love, doing interior work and new construction. And I'm not a big winter person, so I don't
so
really
of course
like January anyways.
That's why you live in New England, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about your business? How many employees do you have? And like, what kind of projects are your sweet spot? Do you try and cater to a certain clientele or do a certain kind of project?
So I have 2 crews. We run 2 crews, and it's a 4-person crew each, an A crew and a B crew. We are usually, through the colder months, we're inside. Usually all the time we're inside during the colder months, and then through the summer and warmer weather, we're always outside doing exterior work. We mostly do residential. We do some small commercial work as well. We are a WBE, which is a woman business enterprise. So that allows us to get into state and federal work, in the city and things like that, where we do larger commercial projects. I really love the high-end residential. I think that's my sweet spot.
What's interesting about that to you? Is it the finishes or the quality of homes, or what do you like about that?
I'm just mesmerized by beautiful, carpentry and millwork. And I think that it really pays off in the end when we go into a project and kind of start to finish and you see all the steps and really at the end of the job when the client comes in and says, oh my God, this is amazing. So that's a big payoff, right? But I think seeing that drastic before and after and those high-end finishes are, really give me the drive to keep it going.
You mentioned briefly earlier, but there's been an increase in your business or calls related to the pandemic. Do you hear that from other painters and other contractors in your circle? Is it similar experience for them? Yeah,
everyone is super, super busy, super busy. It's great. It seems like it's been like this in the trades for a while, right? It's crazy busy. I hear clients say, I can't get a call back, finding the staff to get out there and join you and pick up those projects. And it's just the constant wheel, right? So yeah, it's been crazy. It's ringing off the hook.
We had a regular podcast listener write in and ask if we thought this pace of construction in the residential sector would continue after the COVID crisis had been resolved. Have you had any thoughts on that? Do you think this is just a weird blip in time?
You know, I would think it would continue. Just from the experience of what we had before, it was still, it was still busy, it's still consistent. It seems like there are, folks that are always looking to have projects done, and it's just keeping us busy. So I think that, hopefully, fingers crossed, that we stay consistently busy after this horrible pandemic passes.
And Boston, as I understand it, the residential building sector Boston area is booming. It's a lot of work, right?
Absolutely. Driving around town, it's everywhere. There's always construction going on, always. You never drive downtown and say, wow, there's nothing going on here. Never.
How do you get employees in an environment like that? I've heard of framing contractors specifically in that area who just can't keep employees because the next day someone's offering them more money and they jump ship.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy. I've heard the same thing of, drywall contractors and you drive by a job site and they see a couple of guys and say, hey, I'll give you more, let's go. And they just leave the site. Yeah. Gosh. It's crazy. So, I think that's a tough one. I think in the beginning, you really need to vet those folks and that you're taking on and bringing in as employees and, be sure that they have a similar vision as you, to stick around and kind of take the role of a long-term, employee and offering them things that, someone else may not have to offer. So we try our best to give them everything we can and keep them going and make them happy. And so
I presume that one of the things you could offer them is interesting work. I would hate to have to be a painter and paint like, multifamily senior housing with off-white by the acre, right? That would be a drag.
Yeah. We do have quite a few different projects that I'd say a diverse group. We can do anything from crazy high-end new construction to a repaint, or we're learning how to use a new product, a spray product, and so I think that they enjoy having that kind of, what's this? This is the new thing we haven't done. Let's check this out. Let's get into this. And I definitely think they enjoy that and they like that learning curve. So that for sure is something to look forward to. Oh yeah.
Speaking for myself, the worst thing for me ever would be to have to do the same thing over and over again. That would be terrible. You told me on the phone when we spoke that you generally work directly for your clients and you seldom work for residential contractors. Can you tell me a little bit why that's a better fit for you?
So, not that we don't enjoy that. We do. As I said, I like working in the field with many different contractors to, learn their trades as well. I think that we've had, more of a call and for the client directly, whether it be through a contractor that says, hey, call BLC, or they're working on a job and say, hey, call BLC. In some circumstances, maybe contractors might be looking for a lower number and they just kind of want to get you in and out. That's makes sense, in some circumstances. So, our focus is really the quality of the project and, longevity, the relationship with the client. We're not in and out, and, there's a price to pay for that. So we're not always the lowest number, and we don't want to be the lowest number. We want to deliver a service that's more than that. So, I think that's why we haven't, had more opportunity to, work with builders. The homeowners are really the ones that say, hey, we really want you here. We know what you do. You were referred. We've seen your work. And we want that. We're willing to pay for that. So that makes sense for us.
I'm sure. We say a lot on the show that you have to charge enough so you can do a good job, right?
Yes.
You're not, you don't, yeah. If you're cutting corners, you're not doing your clients any favors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. But you never want to go back, to do a redo. We want it right the first time, and we want them to see that. So
I've talked to some painting contractors who see like painting as a volume business. You have dozens of employees, you do hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work annually. Your model's a little different. You're focusing on a different clientele. Do you think that, why do you choose to stay small, or are you, would you grow if opportunities presented themselves and employees that could run things? I'd like to hear.
Yeah. Yes, I think if there was an opportunity that we could grow, more employees, more crews, absolutely. I'm not stuck in a, let's just do it this way. I'm comfortable here. We have, obviously we've grown from day one until now, and we continue to. But I would I'd jump in and go with it if we got to a point where we were continuing to get that much bigger that we were bringing on, staff to run these projects. Absolutely.
And do you think that there would be more headaches for you, or do you think you could develop systems that there would be fewer headaches?
I think there's always headaches. I've been looking for the non-headache job for my entire life, and I haven't found it. Yeah, I think that, yeah, absolutely. Always.
That brings me to another question that I'm going to ask a little bit, but what do you think the residential construction sector could do to make residential building and remodeling more inclusive and a better place to make a career, especially for people who aren't the typical white male construction guy?
Well, I think that there are a handful of amazing companies that we connect with on social media locally and afar that have already taken those steps to elevate the trade,
yeah.
And take it up a level. And I think it really comes down to leadership, training your staff, and bringing on the right human beings, right? Be a good human, and you take them on. It's not this guy has 20 years experience and this guy or girl has none. Great. Take them on with none. Train them from, square one and build them up into what you want them to be. So I think that it's, you got to find the right people, and you got to be a great leader, and, care about your staff. And they just picked up a new book. It's called Leaders Eat Last. And just getting started on that, and looking forward to reading that one. But I think that it's also all about the business owners' kind of intent for growth and success. And are you willing to kind of take those next steps and do the work to get it to that level and make it a better place?
Do you find clients are appreciative of your efforts in that regard? Do they notice that people are decent and kind to each other on your projects?
You wouldn't believe. It shocks me daily. I've heard so many different compliments and reviews about, your guys or girls are super polite. They're so friendly. I've never seen anyone work this hard. They're amazing. They're hard workers. They are so neat and clean. I can't believe how clean the job site is. This is not what we're used to. And that's really what I want as a company, and as BLC, the name to be is, we're different. We're not that average, that what you're used to. We want to be different. We want to make it a better experience for you. And, thankfully the crews that I have, can see that and believe it, and they bring that forth. So it's a great thing.
That must be great to hear. Do you have any advice for people who are trying to create that kind of company culture? What would you tell them?
Wow. I would say if I have OCD, so I'm
That
I'm
seems like a good
screwed.
quality in a painter.
Yeah, you're right. I know. That's the first question I ask. So, do you have OCD? I don't know. The crews don't always enjoy that when I come onto the job site and say, "Hey, what about this little tiny thing over here that no one's ever going to see?" Right? That's a tough one.
It sounds like you
I
have to
don't have,
care. You have to
yeah,
care.
yeah, you really do. You really do. That makes the difference. If you're going in and it's all about a paycheck, it's probably not the right job for you.
What are your favorite and least favorite parts of being a painting contractor in Salem?
Favorite and least favorite. Geez, favorite. I I really enjoy the customer connection.
I
It's
think a
great.
lot of contractors would say that's the worst part. That's very interesting to me. What is it that you like about that?
I just, even aside from the painting business, it really it puts me on a high to meet new people and to hear their stories and learn about their culture, where they're from, what they've gone through. We were on a site and we had an older woman next door who was a neighbor, and I think she was 85, and she was up on a ladder and she was doing touch-up paint on her home, and I was mesmerized. I talked to her for an hour about how she's visited Italy and all these great stories. And I think that is really that's really valuable to make those connections with people and learn more about them. And I think that once you have that, it that again kind of sets you apart and gives them that feeling of a connection, of trust, of there's a value here, and that's super important to me. So,
What's the worst part?
the worst part, well, that the occasional babysitting of crews here and there, and the checkups and so forth, and we always wish that we wake up and everything's perfect and there's no hiccups, and that's not how it goes. So, yeah. I'd
Yeah.
say those few
So
hiccups.
much stuff is out of your control, right? For
Yeah.
someone who's OCD, that's tough.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yep. Yep.
So painting, more than other things, like, is so weather dependent. Does that drive you crazy?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
in Boston, right? Because anything can happen.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
What was your absolute favorite project so far in your career, and what made it so enjoyable or satisfying?
Gosh, there's so many of those. I did, and this was just myself. I did a super. It was small, but it was really fun. It was the dream house for the Boston Design Center, and this was many years ago. And it was for an interior designer that I became close with, and we've worked together ever since. And she put together a small studio for this dream house project, and I went in to do the painting for it. And it wasn't a huge job; it was a small project. It was just super cool to be in that situation and have that connection in the dream house with the design center and all these little projects they had in there, and the fascinating designs of these designers was phenomenal. So that was a fun one.
Was it all kinds
sure.
of interesting faux finishes or something? What physically kind of
there
paint
was
were you putting on?
It was straightforward. There were some other faux finishes in other areas, but the detail and the moldings and the hardware and just every little piece that came together just really made it spectacular.
You like that the aesthetics of it yourself too? It sounds like. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. For sure.
So what was the most challenging project? And frankly, I want to hear more about this than your favorite.
Most challenging. Most challenging.
You don't need to name names.
Oh, no. We've had a couple that, we've gone into and we may not have had, I'd say, excessive experience in the area that we were going into. So we'd go in and we kind of learn along the way, and we do our best. And at the end of the day, the project came out okay. It wasn't a disaster. We didn't make a dime. We were in the hole. You know, it is what it is. It happens. You know, it's nothing you tell anyone. You move on to the next, and you hope you make it up. But we really tried to take the extra time to make it right and do well. And I think it was a great learning experience to know that these are the things that didn't work. These are the things that did work. So now when we move on to the next, we kind of know, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. We're never doing it this way again. So, you know, and I think it's even certain products that we use. Fine Paints Europe is one that's extremely finicky. It's an amazing product. It outlays and delivers a phenomenal finish. They're high gloss that, you know, people stand back and look at. My God, I can see my face in this wall. But those types of finishes are an extreme amount of work, and they take some experience to know how to do correctly and to do well. So that would be a good example of kind of, you know,
challenges.
Challenges, yeah. We'll call them challenges.
I think any contractor would be, if they tell you they haven't lost money on a job because they got into something they weren't they were in unfamiliar territory, I think they're not telling the truth. Right.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is maybe my favorite question, and I ask everyone who's on the show, and it's usually related to your individual, you know, craft. But can you tell me about your own home? Do you have any deferred or unfinished painting projects that you are either happily or unhappily ignoring?
I'm gonna bring it back to the OCD. So, no, I'm meticulous when it comes to everything in my own home and having things completed when they need to be completed and all my ducks in a row. And, you know, there's no to-do list that needs to be done because when it needs it, it's done. So I'm crazy when it comes to that stuff. It's always completed.
Do you do like the other stuff too? Do you do carpentry and other sub-trade work on your own place?
I do some things. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd say a handful of I kind of dip into a little bit of everything. I really enjoy doing that stuff, and you know, it gives me something to do, something fun to do, and saves a little money on the other end. And, you know, some things I learned too here that I can bring to other projects. So that's helpful.
Sure. Do you try stuff out on your own place? And
yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
I respect that, because when I was a carpenter, the last thing I wanted to do was work on my own place. So I think that's pretty awesome that you take care of stuff.
I know. I hear that often. You know, whatever your expertise is, it's not something you usually get into on your own. But you know, I can't relax if I have something that, oh God, that wall needs to be painted. I
just moved to a different room.
Yeah, right. I got to try that.
It's been such a pleasure talking to you, Brooke. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You as well. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Do you want to give another plug for your company?
blcpainting.com. Check us out. We're in Salem, Mass, and we care about you. We care about our work, and we hope to hear from you. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show. You're a TV star too.
Oh, a while ago. Yes.
So folks might have seen you on, was it Flipping Boston, right?
Flipping Boston. Yep. We did a few episodes with them, and that was fun.
Was it fun or was it a pain?
It was fun. I'm not an actress, and I learned quickly that I'm not an actress. So it's not what you expect. You know, they kind of share with you, hey, you know, go in there, and I want you to start an argument with this guy and do this over here, and you know, it's not what you think. So it was fun.
It's theater.
It is. Yep.
Thanks again, Brooke. It was super awesome talking to you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to Brooke for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening. Please remember to send us your comments, questions, and suggestions to fhbpodcast@taunton.com, and please like, comment, or review us however you're listening. It helps other folks find our podcast. Brooke, you were awesome. Thanks again for being on the show. It was a pleasure talking with you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.